there's certain social media accounts that kind of grab my fancy. And Mike Magg's Instagram account has grabbed my fancy, and we've got him on the show. There he is. Mike, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Love to get my message out.
For the folks listening on audio, this is available on YouTube, and you should go check out Mags, Maggs Golf at Mags Golf on Insta. Right, Mike.
Absolutely.
You're California cool. I mean, right behind you in your golf facility, there's a surfboard on the wall. So tell the global
Yes.
audience a little bit about you, please.
Well, I've been teaching for getting close to 2 decades now.
Mhm.
I came up, I wasn't a talented player like yourself. I read your bio. Lots of great stuff between your
Okay.
family and stuff. So I was just sort of a regular golfer, loved the game. Wasn't highly recruited, we'll say, out of high school. And then just kind of went into my own world and went to college, decided not to even try to play golf, and got out into business. And then a few years going on, I kept just thinking golf, golf, golf. I miss it. I miss it. I miss it. And eventually, when I was about 30, decided, you know what? I'm going to quit thinking about it. I'm just going to do it. And went from Portland, Oregon, where I lived, and moved to Southern California, Temecula, and actually went to a golf college to network.
All right.
Which actually worked because then I was able to get the job at Jim McLean Golf School, and that's really when the education really started. Came up through Jim's program, and kind of luckily and unluckily, I was at PJ West, working at the resort there under Jim's flag, and Jim and PJ West decided to kind of separate, and that gave me a little opportunity to move up quickly. And being that I was already in my early 30s, I wasn't upset about that. I was trying to move from an assistant to instructor, and that process only took about a year. And since then, just been grinding away, trying to figure out this beautiful golf game.
Well, I tell you what, the one thing I kind of know from watching what you've been doing, what I really know is that you figured out the swing. And I that's not a trite comment, because I feel like the swing's kind of been manhandled a little bit lately, given how people are pulling on golf clubs and dragging handles, and it's all rotation and stuff. And actually the art of swinging and doing so kind of in unison and tandem and harmony with the movement of the body is almost becoming a lost art. And as I'm looking through everything you're teaching, I can sort of see this, and I went, yes, where there's this response to the club, and not this like, well, I'm pulling this thing around me and I'm putting force on this and all these fancy words. And in the end, I think that people are giving up speed as a result. So I'm wondering kind of what led you down this road, please.
Well, it's exciting to me that you noticed that, because I noticed that as well. I use that experience from McLean. That's his teaching style. It's his perspective, which is a very good perspective, right? He's taught a lot of great players, and I've learned a tremendous amount from that. But I've always had this inkling from my own self, how do I get this to happen? Because when we have our students, I noticed a few things, right? These patterns started to form.
Right.
First, I noticed just the faults, right? Sort of a standard instructor, you start to see the faults, and then you try to apply the fixes. But when I try to apply the fixes, when I first started teaching, people would not move as I told them to.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a shock, right? And no matter kind of what I told them, they struggled to move differently at all.
Gotcha.
So that was a big question in my mind. What is going on there? Why is it so difficult for people to change how they move? And then it took me a little too long to realize this, because I do a new student assessment, and we do a pitching wedge, 6-iron, and driver. And I want to show them the pattern. I'd noticed that their swings from pitching wedge to driver were similar. And then I started showing them, and then I quickly realized, oh, wait, every single golfer is doing the exact same swing with every single club in relation to their 1, 2, 3 dance that they're doing. So they're doing their same swing again and again and again. And I thought, okay, well, that is really weird. And so they seem to be locked into that. And then I noticed the club face and the ground and steep, shallow, where they're coming in. And then I had the big epiphany, at least one of them, was that, okay, if people are having to deal with this club face, if number one, they're out of balance, or the club face is open or closed, they are going to automatically fight or flight react to that every time. And over time, I've realized, at least a theory, that I think that happens before we even swing. When we set up and we don't feel comfortable, our brain has already calculated the entire swing. If we're going to hit the ground, we're going to hit the ball, how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And if we start the swing, it'll take over. If we start it nicely and hit a good shot.
Yeah.
If we get out of position, it will take over and try to get the ball to go in the air at the target. But I saw the problem was your mind was perfectly fine with in the air in the general direction of the target.
Gotcha.
That doesn't necessarily make you a good golfer. It doesn't make you a bad golfer, but people get to that point and then they just plateau. They get to about, 95, that mid-level handicapper, and then they're done. And then you see them on the range practicing the same swing forever to eternity.
It's discouraging, isn't it? I mean, and then they're hoping to have something change. As the great Martin Hall says, you keep doing what you've been doing, you'll keep getting what you've been getting. And so it makes me
Exactly.
wonder what you say there about the balance and the rhythm of the swing and all these sort of immeasurables, because we live in an era of measuring stuff.
Yes.
The surfboard on the wall, I've mentioned it. I've had Kelly Slater on the show, and he said he became a better surfer and a better golfer when he sort of tied the two together. He was using golf principles in surfing and surfing principles in golf. And number one deal on the surfboard is to stay upright amidst a challenging environment. So,
Yes.
can you elaborate a little bit there?
Yes, I actually have a signed surfboard from Kelly Slater.
All right, cool.
He lives right near here. Actually, he comes out every now and again. But great swing. I saw that too with different sports, and that balance was the key, and especially surfing. Right, I like to get the idea across that we are literally letting go in our downswing. We're not trying to make the downswing happen. We need to let it go and let physics unleash the release.
Yeah.
And so for me, surfing, and I sort of flopped around for a couple of years, barely, but it was all balance. Right? As soon as you understand the balance, like riding a bike, all of a sudden you know how to surf.
Yeah.
When you get that feeling. And we need to do that same thing for golf. We find that balance, everything all of a sudden feels correct. And then we have a chance to get to the ultimate for me, which is symmetry.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're seeing Tiger Woods doing his slow-mo swing and everything's coming together perfectly and just escaping. Everything's about to get in the way and it doesn't. It just, everything's beautiful. We look at it, we go, oh, that's so great. To me, that's the exact same feeling when we are in symmetry with our swing. Everything just is right. Everything is light. Everything is effortless. And it's easy. And we've all done that swing. I get goosebumps when I talk about it.
I'm smiling.
Because I just feel it.
Yeah. Well,
right.
Look.
And we can't describe that. We can't, putting that to words is just essentially impossible. The golfer has to feel it.
How many times, because I'm smiling while you talk about it, and I can see you getting all jazzed up about it. How many times in all the thousands of lessons you've given, have you given the lesson, the student gets it, and they go, and you're like, so, okay, so what are you feeling? And they'll be like, it feels good, and it feels natural. How many times have you heard that where it's like, oh, could it be this easy? Yes.
Yes. Huh? Trying to get them to believe that it can be that easy is the hardest part. And frankly, even for me as a golfer, it took a tremendous amount for me to believe that for myself. Mm-hmm. So I base it on my experience too. And I try to think, is this something that is only affecting me? Or is this something that's universal to all golfers? And I think there's these universal principles that we're all dealing with. Like I said, number one, the club face, the ground, and our mind. Is it going to be there? And then in the last year, I'd say, I finally saw the moment, and that was the ultimate epiphany that every golfer, and I could show you that one. And I talk about this with balance. We were talking about that drill that I did. When we're going to get into this spot, let's see if I can kind of angle that down. You see my legs a little bit.
All right.
There's a moment in the swing right before, and I mean the nanosecond before we're going to execute the downswing, give it the energy to hit the ball, that every great player is leveraged.
Yeah.
Now, that could mean that we've sort of settled in. They call that the sit move, right? But maybe we just go all the way to the takeaway is all the way to the leverage point.
Yeah.
Because now I don't have 1, 2, 3, I have 1, 2. If there's leverage in this trail leg, just the act of starting your downswing shifts your weight forward.
Gotcha.
And then the swing can be extremely light. In that moment, if we can have leverage in the leg, as well as in this right hand, meaning when this arm is here, if it's out behind me, it can't go any farther back. I have a natural backstop.
Exactly.
So if I get up here and I let it go into a natural backstop, this trail arm can be extremely soft. If I just dropped it, it would fall down because I'm going to gather it with my body. And so because it's loose, it can release versus hanging on to it, which I did as a kid. I thought I was supposed to hold on to it.
Yeah.
And then that didn't work. So I tried to throw it. And so
Gotcha.
I'd either hang on or I'd throw, and I'd, somewhere catch a couple in the middle of that and think I had it going, and then a little off, and then I'd lose it again. What is this thing? Because I didn't put them together. I needed this leverage to catch with the leverage in my legs. So I'm going to scoot back a little bit. So if we can put these two together, and if you watch every tour pro in slow-mo, which I'm sure you've done a million times, they catch this spot.
Yeah.
And they don't fire until they have the leverage.
For the audio listeners who aren't watching on YouTube, go check it out. What Mike was basically doing was he was making a backswing with a club in his hand and allowing the trail arm to get to a place where it was essentially soft and folded behind him, but the body was going into like a centered looking squat.
Yes.
Okay, this is a brilliant segue for me to get to some of these drills that you have on your Instagram account. Again, folks, at Mags Golf. I guess let's get right into this one here. And the one drill I loved was to do 20% and allow 80% to happen. Again, the golfer swing in is doing 20% of the work, 80% of this is happening. Now, I want you to talk about that, the drill, and because I feel like it fits with what you're trying to show us here, right?
Yes. And what I was trying to get there is the 80-20 rule, just
Yeah.
leading into that, but also the idea of how much we need to let go. The let go to me is endless. You cannot possibly let go too much. Jack, if I knew what Jack was talking about all the time, I'd be making a lot more money. But from what he said was he couldn't release it early enough. And to me, he was saying what I'm attempting to say, that you can just let it go because physics will unleash the club the same way every single time.
Yeah.
And as I do this with my students, which I'll show you here in a second, all of a sudden, all of the swing moves start to appear. They get a good turn, their elbow shows up, the club doesn't cast, falls into place. They get their hands in front of their thigh with the club shaft still parallel to the ground, releases with shaft lane, pulls them through the shot to the finish.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking to my students, I kind of describe the swing as two boosts.
Okay.
Like a kid on a swing set.
Yes.
And all we're trying to do is boost the takeaway. So it's got a little trigger move going forward and boost maybe these two fingers and toss. Find the balance and boost again.
Okay.
And then all the rest is us being pulled through.
Audio listeners, what he was doing there was he was in his address and with a right hand, almost feeling, I imagined a ball in Mike's hand, and he just tossed it off to the right-hand side. I'm throwing things off my desk. And that helped you into the turn. Then from there was that city sort of like centering move. And then from there, then you're basically tossing it back in the opposite direction. So you're not doing much work to garner a whole bunch of club head speed that's reliable because of the way your body is centered as you're moving.
Yes. And if you use the leverage points, first of all, you leverage against your hands so you can toss it. And that even that takeaway piece is very important to understand. This sort of gets the idea going. When I was a kid, I thought I was supposed to place my takeaway up here.
Gotcha.
Place it in a position. Spent hours and hours and hours and hours trying to place my takeaway. But what does your mind do when you're going to place something on a shelf?
You lift up there and
everything helps you place it.
Exactly.
Oh, shoot, I'm over here. I got to hit a ball.
Gotcha.
So every golfer's over here trying to do this and their whole body goes and all the amateurs are lifting and you're saying, no, stay centered, but I need to lift the club versus a natural thing we already do. We've all thrown a softball or thrown a frisbee. I like the frisbee idea because it already gets the body moving.
Yeah.
And the whole point of that is that we can disassociate from the takeaway. If we can disassociate from the takeaway and have the takeaway, and for those people listening, I'm just tossing it behind me like I have a softball in my hand or a frisbee. And when the club head releases on the takeaway, if we let it go and our arms are soft, it will lift the arms for us.
Yeah, exactly.
So while the arms are lifting up into this right palm or trail palm that's sticking directly behind us, when we set up the palm is facing the target, we toss it directly behind us, no twists and turns, and catch it right in that right index knuckle. The arm can't go any farther back. That's my leverage right there.
Yeah.
Toss, catch. While I'm tossing it, it's very easy then to move my body in position. I can disassociate. Otherwise, we're one track mind. Everything's going.
Yeah.
We got to let go, release, catch, and then shift. And I don't think we even need to rotate much at all because the rotation is going to happen automatically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So a gentle shift. So when I talk to my students, I talk about whatever speed they were rotating back with their hip on the takeaway is the exact same speed we need to bump forward. And the reason I'm trying to keep it in these simple terms is because I'm obsessed with the average golfer. Like, I think all instruction right now is focused on that 5% of golfers. They're going to do all the crazy drills and do whatever you say.
Yeah.
What about all the other people that are just want to hit some balls and get better?
Amen. But I want to say this too. And I just want to quickly for the audio listeners, because you can see what Mike's doing. And when he says catch at the top, is like a swing of the arms back, and then the catch is the body sort of centering as the arms are going to completion in the backswing. So it's like a toss, swing of the arms back, catch, and then you shift and swing through. As I watch,
like throwing a baseball.
Yeah, exactly. As I watch you, and you say this is for like the club average golfer, I feel like the elite golfer should listen too, because you talked about Jack Nicklaus already. I also will say this about Nicklaus. He once mentioned to me, he goes, you swing the club through the positions, you don't position the club through the swing. And that
I'm going to use that.
That has lived with me really since I've heard it. And I'm seeing you do that. Now, you've talked about it some, that's a 2080 thing. Then you had a drill to improve the takeaway. It sort of smacked to me of something I heard from Nick Price, where to this day, he starts with a club out in front of him on the target side. He's in posture and swings it from there. So give the club head a running start so it overtakes his hand, and the mass almost of the club head swings him to the top of the swing. I saw you doing that in a drill with your students too. So describe that start, how almost instead of trying to move the club, as you set it in motion, begins to move you, and you already referenced it swings your arms up the correct amount.
Yes. There's so much effort. That was really keying into the 80-20 discussion.
Mm-hmm.
All golfers, from what I see from my students, they're trying to make 80% effort and maybe 20%, if that, of let go. Mm-hmm. And we need to flip that around completely. Because even on this takeaway idea, let me tip that down just a little bit. As we do our takeaway, and for those people listening, I'm just swinging. I'm getting a little bit of forward movement here. When I practice, right, we can do some drills where we actually extend out, like we're shaking hands a little bit with the target, plant that trail foot, and literally toss the club. Of course, we're going to have to do that in a small space. Maybe we just have a little trigger move, a little forward movement. Maybe we're passing DJ Singh, maybe a little weight passing, maybe a little rotation, something to get some forward energy so we can bounce off of that. What I try to tell my students is this club, the head weighs more than the handle. So we don't have to swing it that hard. So if we just give it a little flick with some timing off the foot we're planting, literally like we're tossing a frisbee, you're going to use that, in this case, the trail foot to toss the frisbee behind you, or underhand toss a softball. I talk about it as if you're underhand tossing a softball to a 5-year-old, because we don't need to chuck it at them. We can just boop. Mm-hmm. And if we're moving with it, and what you'll see when on this video is that I'm swinging so slowly, I'm not even holding the club. It comes right up.
Yeah.
And what are most people doing, right? Trying to rip that club up into the air, get themselves out of position because they need to fire really hard. So if we can get this toss idea in the takeaway, now we're halfway there. Because now we're going into this trail arm that can't go any farther back.
Yeah.
Because that palm's directly there. What do most people get, right? They face the hand this way towards the ball on the top of their swing, and now their arms breaking down all over the place.
Gotcha.
And now they don't have a top.
Yeah.
So if we go here and can't go any farther, now I can gather this transition, smooth, slow transition, and gather it, and as gently as possible, send it the other way. What I call it keeping a finger on the swing. We keep a little leverage until it can release.
For the folks,
that's the key. If we get our mind's eye right there, and you can understand that little moment and not throw it away, right? Not hang on to it because then it won't release. Just gather, the arms relaxed, and it can go. And that was the epiphany, along with the leverage in the back leg. We got to have all the leverage. One last thing here, we see take away, leverage in the trail leg, in the foot, if I can scoot back a little bit. And then if we can gather this and just a little bump forward, everything falls into place, because as you know, Mark, this club is extremely balanced.
Yeah. Hey,
it's always swinging on plane unless we mess it up.
Along those lines, you mentioned it earlier. open disclosure, if anyone's watched social and seen my daughter swing, when she was just a little tot, I took her to the playground and put her on a swing, and I said to her, "That's what a golf swing should feel like." So I'm because
We're simpatico.
as I'm watching Mike and as he's describing it, this is like a playground swing with some twisting of the body back and through. Is it as simple as that to you?
This is like the invasion of the body snatchers. I use the swing example endlessly.
Yeah.
That is literally the moment that we're going to kick our feet and pull the feet back in the swing. So think of your takeaway as the kids going backwards and they're tucking their feet in, right? They're
Mhm.
not shaking the swing. There's timing
Yeah.
and they get a little momentum, like you're spinning a basketball in your finger and you're just giving it some more speed.
Hmm.
So if we go back, it's the same timing, right about here in that mid zone, release. And then the boost on the downswing is literally the same spot where you kick your feet in a swing. And all that is a little boost.
Yeah.
And it takes hardly any boost as long as you keep a little connection. Wham! Because then the club is just going to release. And I say it's like it cracks like a whip in front of you. And the most counterintuitive thing is that you're going to hit it farther.
I suppose
Trying to muscle it slows you down.
about to say, for anyone who feels like you're manhandling the golf club and your people have said to you to swing, you swing too fast, you're too violent, or you're losing your balance, you should be watching Mike right now, because I feel like if they just put you on a loop and they listen to you, it's going to kind of imbue the not just the feeling, but the thought of this all, and almost divorcing oneself from violence, and embracing the fact that you're almost setting a club in motion on the way back and then on the way through. And to get this thing set in motion, as you point out, it just takes a little bit of leverage. It's nothing really crazy, not a whole bunch of rotation down through the ball. I mean, how much have you heard here lately where folks are like turn open, turn open, turn open? All those folks that are trying that are likely missing the target to the right hand side if they're a right hander.
Yes. They're all on their back foot.
Yeah.
If you do it from your back foot, you got to get the balance in. Okay, then you could be in that spot and then fire some rotation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most golfers are on their back foot. And so like I see Victor Hovland's a good example. Maybe a month ago, he was all over social media talking about how he uses his hands and hits the balls. Great info. But when a pro's talking about it, out of balance, what? I'm
Yeah.
never out of balance. What are you talking about? I would never describe my swing out of balance. And every amateur is out of balance. So when Victor's talking about how he uses his hands and moves through the ball, great advice for a high level player. Everybody else out of balance, they will not even be able to get to that spot because your hands will fall apart before you could even get there. So when people are watching all the social media stuff, all this complicated P1, P6, ulnar deviation, all of it, right? It's all good and good advice, but not for most golfers. I'm trying to get to the simplest, smallest, least effort, tiniest swing thought thing you can do in a swing, because somebody just practicing can come out and actually get better if they do these very simple things and keep their mind's eye, which I talk about all the time. Basically, when I go with my students, I get up in their head with them. I try to point them to where they're going, and I try to show how much their mind is trying to take them to. Oh, the guy said something about the elbow. What about the thing I heard on YouTube? All the mind chatter goes. So we get their mind's eye on something extremely specific. Catch and let it go. Catch and let it go with leverage here and in the leg.
Yeah.
The ball can just get hit.
I'm dating myself here because I'm bringing all the old timer anecdotes to support what you said.
Let the club do the work,
Tell
right?
you how many great golfers I've spoken to, like, Watson talked about to me, Tom, that is, the most important time in the swing was the transition, that once you've caught the club, then they'll let it go. You think about so many golfers, where the old time guys that sort of swing the club at, it was more released, and that's the golfy term, where nowadays people get to the top and they're like, well, I've got to create lag in my downswing. So they pull so hard in the handle, they never square the face. But with that,
Yes.
the leverage move, that centering move, that just that in itself will create lag that will be released at the correct time. Am I right in my assessment?
Exactly. Physics releases your swing perfectly every single time. The only reason it's not having lag is because you're trying to make it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, and this leads into the biggest epiphany. When I was a kid, I was always trying to shallow my club, right? I was trying to show my elbow. I was way overswung and, that's a mess. So I was trying to do these moves and I didn't know what I was talking about. It was here's things on TV. So I'm trying to drive the elbow and I'd try to copy the 10 pictures I'd see in Golf Digest, right? Copying pictures. But I didn't know what the source of the energy was.
Yeah.
And through that process, I realized the more I tried to do the things that I wanted, the more I got the opposite of it. Trying was the curse of the golfer,
Yeah.
right? And then that sort of led to the let go. And then through the lessons, I found, to me, the ultimate moment, which is exactly what I think Tom Watson was talking about, is the transition. That moment, if you're a little on your back foot and out of position, you're gonna do something to save it.
Exactly.
And you're gonna then be manufacturing your downswing. And God forbid you actually hit the ball in the air in the direction of your target, your mind's gonna go, oh, well, that's good. Let's do that forever now. And you start doing a few of those and thinking, hey, I'm doing pretty good. But then you'll get stuck doing that same swing forever. And the key moment to me in every golf swing, this is really the only thing I ever talk about or think about after I saw it, is this moment right here of leverage, that moment I talked about, right before you do your downswing. Literally the nanosecond before you're going to go. If you are not in balance, your mind's going to jump in and save the day for you.
Hit the ball, hit the ball alarms. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and so that is to me, our fight or flight response system. And it is helping us and hurting us at the same time with every single swing. And so we get the yips, or we're feeling twitchy, or even just your downswing feels like somebody went boo and you jumped, right? We'll have all these feelings, or forced, or heavy, or round peg in a square hole. All of those things are telling you that ain't it. This should feel easy to do. We should be going with flow. If your swing doesn't feel light and effortless and literally moving you, one of the things the answer should be yes. We're doing a little bit and we're letting 80% take us the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So if people can master this transitional moment, physics can take over their swing and the club will shallow, the elbow will show up, the shaft line will be there, the extension and the release will all magically appear and pull you to your finish. And you'll be at your finish going,
oh, balance.
How the hell did I get over here? I don't care, but I like it.
Well,
and you'll relate that back to every good swing you've ever done.
Well, I mean, it's just quickly, and then I'll go to what I thought was a fantastic drill, the Tiger drill. That maybe I misunderstood. Well, I certainly, after watching you, I was like, maybe I did misunderstand the Tiger Woods drill with Butch Harmon.
Yes.
Real fast. I've said to countless people, I'm like, what's the finish of your golf swing called? And they're like, the follow through. And I'm like, yeah, have you ever thought about those words? Follow. That means you're following something through to the finish. You're following that leverage, that speeding clubhead that's overtaking your body that you're illustrating and talking about all the time.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that was the thing. I saw Tiger doing that drill. Stop and go. That makes sense. But I sort of just brushed over it. And I didn't realize what Butch was trying to teach him there. Excuse me. And that was a clip from the Golf Channel from like 20 years ago. Early in the Golf Channel, Tiger was like 23 and Butch had all his hair. Looking good. And he was saying that was his favorite drill. And Tiger was complaining about, gosh, Butch maybe do that drill over and over and over. And then it just clicked. Well, wait a minute. How many of those swings do you think Tiger was out of balance on? And what was Tiger's problem in the early days, right? He gets stuck.
Yeah,
why would he get stuck? He was out of balance. And of course, he's such a great athlete, he could make it work.
Yeah. Okay. For the folks who don't know the Tiger drill, Butch used to have him swing to the top of the backswing and hold it for a split second, then hit the ball into a follow through, basically swing through. Tiger said he hated
stop and go drill.
Yeah, stop and go drill, like a freezer drill. What you loved, Mike, and this is what changed my idea on it. What you mentioned, I should say, or you loved, and I loved it right back. Because I was just thinking of stop and go for timing. But you were like, no, if you swing back and stop and you hold it for a second or two there, your body will naturally get into balance. And you use the term north, south, east, and west. So basically over your feet and not side to side. Because if you're out of balance and you stop, you won't be able to hold it there. And I was like, hell yes. Because from there, it's like you're primed. You use the term leverage. You're primed for an organized, sequenced downswing. And change my tune to that stop and go drill almost to a place where I'm like, more people need to do this more often. Yes.
Yes. And then even love that you're keying in so clearly on what I'm trying to get across. And even within that balance, north, south, what am I saying there? I had somebody that told me way back about the two big toes and your nose. And your two big toes are your sensors for the ground. Just like in your swing, your thumb and forefinger kind of give you a little feel of what's going on. Your two big toes are so incredibly active in all of your athletic endeavors that we don't even notice it's happening. Like
Right.
the thumbs of the feet. And so when you're at the top of your swing, or even in your setup, if you want to be balanced north and south towards the ball and behind you, if you just get your two big toes to touch the ground, you're balanced,
All right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we get side to side, we're balanced. Or even just hop and land.
Yeah.
If you hop and land, you're always like a cat, you're going to land in balance. You're not going to land on your back foot. If you do, you'll notice that it feels weird. So when you do the stop and go drill, like Butch was telling Tiger, we want to get to the top and just, where is it? There it is. A little bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm just sort of bouncing lightly,
Mm-hmm.
just finding it. My two big toes are on the ground. And then when I do the stop and go drill, what I want you to do is let it go. But not, that needs to be defined. Because when people say let it go, they're going to throw it.
Okay.
Let it go. And what we want to do is not throw it at all. We want it to be thrown. From the leverage, what I'm doing, I have my palm out with my resistance in this trail hand that's sticking straight out.
Yeah.
And what you'll find is your arm can't go any farther back. So as we catch it and we go forward, just like throwing a baseball, we're going to go, and then the release will happen automatically if that arm is loose. So the trick with the stop and go drill is you kind of have to hold it there, but you don't want to hold it through the downswing. You want to feel that your arm is stuck in this little pocket. And that's what we're going to train with the stop and go, is gathering this little pocket. You'll be able to see in the video.
Mm-hmm.
As we go, if you can gather this pocket smoothly and coax it forward and keep it very light and do it, to me, in slow motion feeling, that it's just so slow in transition, and gather and let it go as we stand up and release.
Okay.
That arm releases and the speed is astounding.
Okay, you have me intrigued. You said two big toes and the nose. Tell me, okay, no, so add the
That little
nose to.
triangle of bounce.
Oh, okay, so the nose
Instead
is
of
in
keep your head down.
toes. Got you. All right. Yes.
Yeah. So it's just a way to, well, my nose is kind of in between my two big toes
Cool.
without being, I'm going to keep my head down and not move my head, because we want the head to be steady,
Mm-hmm.
but not frozen, right? Because that freezes up the rest of the body. And everything I'm talking about is free and moving and letting go. And every golfer is hanging on somewhere, fighting themselves, trying to control the swing, which of course they lose control of the ball.
Yeah.
And so that another video you talk about of, to get control, we need to let go.
Okay.
If we try to control the swing, we're going to lose control. Golf is opposite in every way,
Okay.
right? So to gain control, we let physics swing, and it's perfect every time. Boom, boom, boom. And as you do this more, you realize the only time you mess up your swing is when you get involved or you're out of bounds.
Okay. I need for you now, because this shows that I'm listening like a fan, because I had a plan to talk drills and we've gone concepts, and a very important principle, I think, of understanding and being able to feel the golf swing, because I feel like most folks might know the stuff, but they can't translate translate that into, an actionable point when they go and play. So it brings up two questions for me. The second one is a follow-up, is doing this on an uneven lie on the golf course. But the first thing I want to ask about is just the mindset. So put on your sports psychologist hat, because I'm
Yes.
sure everyone's listening to this going, yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I'm with you, until you get over the ball and it's for the money and you're like, okay, I'm not sure I can let
Yes.
go to and trust something else. So talk psychology, please.
Yes. That's the hardest part, because as soon as that ball gets there, fight or flight. So practice swings are valuable, very valuable. We want to do a ton of practice swings, but that's not the ball. As soon as the ball's there, your mind will go, "Ooh, hold on. Well, this is dangerous now. Back to the old move. We know that works sometimes. Let's go to the safety valve," and that firmware is already in there, and it's just going to auto repeat. So there's the practice. You have to get your mind's eye, and this is why I get my students literally in their minds and try to point them to the spot. You have to get your mind's eye to the smallest thing you can, to the littlest thought that's possible. And so that's why I like, let it go. I've already thrown at something before. I know what this feels like. So I can get this idea down pretty well. And if my body's relaxed, I'm just letting my arms swing if you see this or you're listening.
That's into the
Just
backswing.
releasing the takeaway. And then I, whoa, toss it. It lands in my trail hand. And then I can just let it go.
Gotcha.
We want to be able to get that freedom because as soon as the ball's there, we need to already know what that feels like and have confidence. So what I do with my students is I get them, I'm at a practice facility, so we have the mats, right? So if you have the rubber tees, to me, that's the best teaching aid there is.
Right.
Because the rubber tee will hit the face and it'll make a different sound. When it hits the sweet spot, you'll feel it makes a different sound. So you get an idea of what that might feel like.
Right.
But the ball is not. So the fight or flight system is not kicked on yet. So I will have them set up. This is my favorite golfers. They don't have 14 teaching aids in their bag. They don't have all this stuff. They just want to come, get a bucket of balls, and get better, right? So we got the rubber tee, great teaching aid. We're going to line up to that, and we're going to have a ball just inside of it, ready to go. And I want you to do as many practice swings, doing the drill and doing the feel. And so you get the club to release until you go, ooh, what was that?
Yeah.
That was something. Whoop, back to the ball. And we want to treat the ball like an experiment.
Right.
Let's see where it goes. We're not associated with the result. We're just trying to replicate the feeling. It's a little bit like riding a bull. Lasts about 8 seconds, so you don't want to rush, but you want to get to it.
Yeah.
Do your swing, let go, and then, where'd the ball go? Because if we are attached to the result, we're in trouble. Because our mind doesn't know yes or no. It's only going to go, say you hit a bad shot, it goes way to the right. Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. I can't believe I did that. Why do I suck so bad? What's your mind going to do? We love that. Let's give more. It's paying attention to it. Versus you hit it to the right. Not that. I want to do this instead. So every time I hit a shot in this little drill set, maybe the practice swing originally hitting the tee took you 15 swings before you felt the one. Then you come to the ball, try to replicate and feel what happened. Maybe it was a shot where it's like, oh, everything was wrong there. I didn't even know what happened. Completely brush it off and then do practice swings saying, no, I want this instead. I want this instead. And then give it a little bit of emotion. That, yes.
Gotcha.
Because that'll get your mind to start creating a neural pathway. Okay. Let's say you hit one and you just smoked it. It was beautiful. Great. I love it. Practice swing, replicate with a little bit of emotion. And this is where the discipline comes in practice, right? So you're in your mind's eye, you're feeling the thing you're trying to do, and replicate. Let's say my favorite one is maybe the takeaway was pretty good, but you kind of messed up the downswing. Okay, well now I can kind of grow a swing here. Okay, let me keep that takeaway feel. Let me see if I can feel that downswing a little bit better in the practice swings after you hit the shot, right? Takeaway and downswing. Okay, that's it. And then you, in that situation, kind of build the feeling. And then you get it, a little emotion, and then you bring out another ball, and you start hitting the tee again. You do that again and again.
I love the idea of the addition of emotion. I came from a lesson before our chat, and I said to the young student, talented, I was like, look, if you're going to own your bad shots, you need to own your good shots too. Because, the golfer, we start to get into, well, mitigate bad shots, and all of a sudden they become idols in our lives. And that's all we see. And we're just plugging the mind full of this stuff. That's tremendous stuff. I love that rubber tee drill too. I mean, I'm going to advocate that in the biggest way. Let's
say you're, just to finish that thought, let's say you've been doing it a while, you're getting better at it. It'll take you less practice swings and you'll hit more shots.
Gotcha.
Because you'll get to the spot sooner. If say you're doing pretty good, but you kind of lose your swing that day or that week and it sort of gets squirrely, well, now it's going to go opposite. So it's always a self-correcting drill. The harder it is, you sort of off, you'll do more practice swings till you get it. The better you're doing, the more strikes you're going to do.
Love it. So simple. Right. Do that, folks. Okay. As a wrap, because I've kept you for very, very long and I know there are people waiting. 2 big toes in the nose. I'm seeing an individual now on uneven lies. Is it as simple as just kind of finding your balancing center and going with that? Talk to us.
Yes. I describe the mat, of course, out here like the free throw line. Everything's perfect lie. If we can't be balanced out here in the perfect lie, good luck when it's bumpy and we're actually playing golf. So we need to be so keyed in on exactly what balance feels like so that when we get on a hill or something on the course, we can go, well, this is what it would normally be. Let me readjust my body for the hill. And of course, there's a lot of drills where you're going to lean with the hill and get your shoulders paired up or down. we talk about another time, but you're going to then feel, okay, yeah, I'm in this position here on a hill, but that's exactly in alignment with how I would be balanced normally. So if we have that base idea of balance, then the idea of moving around a little bit for the different lies gets much easier.
You just got me thinking, and I'm going to wrap with something we started with the surfboard. Isn't it crazy how, like with skiing, snow skiing, water skiing, you're leaning back against the force of the boat, but snow skiing, you're leaning down the hill. Surfing, you're leaning down the wave. Isn't it crazy how some folks are sort of averse to that? And with a golf shot, when you're downhill, you got to lean down the hill and then let the club pass you by and you stand up. It's like folks don't want to go there. It's the strangest thing.
That's because, I'll finish with this. I'm not just describing a single golfer. What I'm describing with all of these ideas is every golfer is dealing with this exact same thing. If you are manufacturing your takeaway, unless you're very, very talented at it, you're going to be out of position at the top. If you're out of position at the top, that moment right before you do your downswing, that moment is the creation of all swing errors. Every swing error comes from being out of balance and without leverage here.
Interesting.
If you look at every single amateur, they are out of balance here, and then all of their swing errors are a attempted correction that their mind came up with in a nanosecond because it's already in there, right? And every golfer describes so does that.
Wonderful.
Right. And so if we realize that that moment is it, why are we practicing anything else other than getting to that moment and leaving that moment? Everything else is letting go and letting the club hit the ball for you. So practice that gather, leverage in the arm, in the balance, and just practice letting that go from that spot, which is the tiger stop and go.
One more thing. Okay, I'm sorry.
Sure.
You said find that spot. I can envision countless golfers who never find that spot because they're in such a rush going back and a rush to go back and to hit the ball again. And I remember reading a quote by Hogan saying, "Great strikers are never in a rush to get back to the ball. Great strikers, bad strikers are always in a rush to go and try and hit it because they're not finding your spot at the top of the swing."
Yes. And so you're keying right into it. Not only most golfers, I would say 60% of golfers never, ever, probably more, 75, never find that leverage. Every one of their swings is a fight or flight save. And they figured out how to hit the ball. And so how can you ever be a great ball striker if your entire move is a save that you're repeating over and over?
Mike, you're the best. For the folks, I've shared the Instagram handle at Mags with 2 G's golf. Is there a website? Is there somewhere else that folks can find you, please?
Yeah, go to southernCalGolfAcademy.com and you can book a lesson with me. And I just want to say thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. You know, you put this stuff out on social media, and I'm trying to share this message that's sort of in people's heads and sort of a little in the ether, and I'm wondering if it's getting across. And then you're coming to me and sort of explaining back to me the concepts I'm trying to get across. So it's very motivating and very exciting that someone on your level that's been an instructor and a high level player can see what I'm trying to say. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. You know, the last time I checked, it's called a golf swing. No.
They say that all the time.
All right.
I think we are separated at birth or something. It's pretty good.
Mike, I appreciate your time. Keep up the fantastic work, my friend. All the very best.
Thank you so much. Take care.